How are you? We are bringing you Magic Monday on Wednesday this week after the holiday weekend. How are you,
Yep.
Chris?
I'm doing good. Hope everybody had a good long weekend. Welcome back, Lorna.
Thank you. Thank you. 2 weeks on the West Coast was not a bad thing.
It's a good thing. So,
Yes. So, if you looked at the title today, it was about giving yourself permission, giving yourself a permission slip. And is that something that you need? And what Christine and I want to talk about today is something that we see a lot in our business, in our practices with the women that we work with, which is really comes down to the question of what do you want? And
it's a powerful question.
It's a powerful question. And so many women give us a blank stare when we first ask that question. So many of us are either through cultural conditioning or the humdrum of our lives have stopped understanding that we're allowed to want things and that we can have things that we want and that we have permission to have things that we want and not have to constantly be putting everyone and everything else ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. There's a feeling of stuckness, I think, that permeates a lot of this, place of not understanding that your thoughts, dreams, desires, needs are just as equal, just as much a priority as everybody else in our lives, right? As women, it's in our DNA, it's in our culture, it's in our society that to give, and serve, serve. But always the question that we see in our work is, what's the expense, right? At what expense? There's a lack of balance. And we go to sleep.
Yep.
It's how we lose time. It's how we feel so drained and depleted and disempowered a lot around, well, that's just the way things are. I guess, what choice do I have, right?
Right. We get into this either a suffering mode or a humdrum mode or a resentment mode, really. This is the way it is, but there's a big part of us saying, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't light me up. I don't jump out of bed in the morning. And whoever gets to do that's clearly not available to me.
Right. So we're in survival mode in many ways also, right? Let me just get through. I just got to get through this. I got to get through the weekend. I got to get through this season. I got to get through this busy time, right? Then I'll relax. Then I'll focus on me, right? And the bar just keeps moving and moving. And as you and I know, the cost is really high, physically, emotionally, for our well-being, for it's just this undercurrent of inner discontent, right? All because we can't give ourselves permission to want something different, to put our needs, on par with everybody else, right?
And so then what happens if you do give yourself permission, right? If you recognize yourself in this, we don't want you to beat yourself up. This is not a bad thing. This is not a wrong thing. This is just something that's happened and it's very, very common. But the point that we're trying to make today is that you do have a choice. And if you're finding yourself in this resentful place, and if you're finding yourself not happy with where you are in complete control of changing it. Right. And that's the beautiful thing about this work, because we say we live in a free country, and yet so many of us bind ourselves. We become our own hostage by our thoughts and our beliefs about what's available to us.
Right. So you're only as stuck as you want to believe that you're stuck is kind of the way we look at it, right? So if you're feeling stuck or limited, if the options on the menu, seem really, really limited, then we need to expand them. But always understand that you're the one co-creating that menu, right? You're the one that gets to decide what the options are. So be aware of, way to think about is, are you in kind of that all or nothing mode, that black and white thinking, right? Well, this is the way things have always been. This is the way things have to be. And when you find yourself thinking those, saying those things to yourselves, really notice, is that true, right? Start to recognize again, what if you were in charge of your life more than you've been led to believe?
Right. And Christine, the other thing that we run into is when women do give themselves permission to want something, right? That they understand this concept that everyone else is allowed to want, but somehow they aren't. And they say, okay, but now what do I want? They have no idea what it is they actually want for themselves because their mind has not gone to those places. And some suggestions around that also.
Right. So the idea is, well, what is it that would really light you up? What is it that you would jump out of bed and just, be raring to go, right? What would you be doing that would inspire you in a way that maybe you were inspired when you're 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, just running around on the playground, singing, dancing, not looking for reward or acknowledgement, but just enjoying who you are, the truth of what's really happening here for you. What lights you up, right? How would that feel?
And what is the thing or things that your parents, your teachers, the people around you told you you couldn't do?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And is that true?
And is that true? And is that the thing that you've really yearned to do kind of your whole life, and you haven't let yourself have it? And
so one of the things we don't want to get tripped up on then, Lorna, right, is, well, then how am I going to do that? I work full time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, the kids, that, and the other, I'm taking care of my parents, etc. How do we get into the doing mode? And what we want to say is, hold up now, it's not about the doing. It's not about the action plan, right? It's about the very first and most important step in creating any kind of outcome, and that's your mind. The freedom and the permission that you have to have in your inner world has to come first. It's an emotional decision for you to decide, right?
Right. And you can physically write yourself that permission slip. You can start to change your beliefs around what is available to you. And that's where everything starts to shift. Because when you start believing it, that's when the obvious actions present themselves. That's when you will be inspired to do something towards that. But until you believe that it's available to you, you will remain stuck because you don't think that it's for you.
Right, right. So the beginning of having what you want starts, with feeling it in your mind, in your heart, right? Getting out of the head, getting out of the doing. How's this all going to work? 5-step plan, checklist, or anything. All of that is wonderful, but all of that is the byproduct of what happens first within you, right? So what would it feel like to give yourself permission to say, what would I like? What would light me up? And see what unfolds from there.
Yeah. And so we welcome you to have some fun with this and really use your imagination and go back to your early days and think about the things.
Exactly.
And we will see you guys next week. We'll see you in the comments. Any questions, please hit us up, and enjoy this short week.
Awesome. All right.
Monday.
See you guys later. Write those permission slips now.
Bye.
Bye.